Welcome, everyone, to the pre-Thanksgiving edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with my friend Alanna Rizzo. We are getting ready for the holiday, of course. We hope everyone is well during their travels, their preparations, and we have still a baseball offseason that is in, Alanna, I would call it the formative stage. How's that?
It is, Ken. Good to be with you as always. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I would say, Ken Rosenthal, that our sport is incomplete. It seems like all 30 teams still have a lot of holes to fill.
Absolutely, Alana. And we've seen a number of moves so far. And frankly, each of these trades that we've seen have only led to more questions. Even going back to Grayson Rodriguez for Taylor Ward. And then the Sonny Gray trade yesterday. And then, of course, we can talk as well about the Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien trade. When you look at the Gray acquisition by the Red Sox, you wonder, okay, is he the number 2 starter that they were talking about, or are they going to do something else? They have a lot of possibilities for that rotation, and it looks pretty good, frankly. Crochet, Gray, Bayo, Cutter Crawford coming back, Connolly early, Peyton Tolley, all of these guys, Patrick Sandoval perhaps, but it just seems to me that Sonny Gray is not a number 2. I know they love his strikeouts. I know they love the strikeout to walk, all of that. It's all good. But is he that guy at 36? Well, I'm not sure, but I'm sure the Red Sox are thinking about many other things as well, upgrading their offense being one of them. And then the Mets, the Brandon Nimmo trade. Now, this was a very interesting trade in so many ways. Brandon Nimmo for Marcus Semien. And I get what the Mets are doing in terms of trying to shake it up, but I question whether Brandon Nimmo was the right guy to shake it up with. I don't see him as the problem. He's 3 years younger than Semien. And while Semien will upgrade them defensively, they're getting him for his ages 35, 36, and 37 season at a time when he is in offensive decline, a 2-year decline. So they have to do a lot of other things. They've opened up a hole in left field here. And they already have questions in center field. They've got the kid Carson Bench coming. Are you going to commit to him? Wow, that's a big question. And then, as Will Salmon writes in our notes column today, it's a combined notes column, Will, myself, Katie Wu. He says, well, hey, the fact that they just traded Nimmo, got out of his long-term deal, 5 years left, by the way, a deal that, yes, was too long to start with. Do they really want to enter into another long-term deal with a Cody Bellinger or a Kyle Tucker? And if they don't, then how do they fill their outfield holes? So these are just some of the questions that have arisen in recent days with these moves. And obviously, we've got a long way to go this offseason, Alana, and a lot more will happen. It's just, as you look at these moves right now, you think there's got to be more. And yes, there
And
does have to be more.
And when you think of the New York Mets, Ken, and obviously with the ownership group, you don't imagine that their outfield or their positions that need to be filled are going to be filled by two highly touted prospects. Maybe one position is enough for a prospect, but two, if you're the New York Mets, I don't know if they can put all of their thoughts in that basket.
No, I don't believe they will. And hey, they've got some young starting pitchers too that are going to enter the mix this year. They're not afraid of young players. Like all teams, they want to mix in young players to help balance the payroll. Young players give a team life. There's many things to recommend young players, but you're right, Alana. They're not going to take a team centered around Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor and simply say, you know what, we'll go with kids in left, kids in center, kids in the rotation. Not happening. They're going to do things, and they still have two big players out in free agency that they want to re-sign, or at least we think they want to re-sign. Edwin Diaz, they certainly want him back. And then Pete Alonso, it's kind of questionable whether they want him to come back or at least be a first baseman. If he comes back, he's going to be a DH in part.
The closer market, Ken, and you mentioned Edwin Diaz. I believe he headlines that market, but the outfielder market isn't that deep. I mean, you're talking about probably Kyle Tucker. I don't know if the Mets are going to want to take on that salary, considering they just got rid of Nimmo's salary, and Tucker figures to be 3 times that. And then you have Cody Bellinger. Does he go from the Bronx to Queens? What are you thinking?
I would say it's possible. I don't know that you can ever rule anything out with Steve Cohen as your owner, but I don't know that it's likely. And then the question becomes, if you're not doing Tucker, if you're not doing Bellinger, how are you going to solve this outfield question that you have? I mentioned the prospect Carson Bench. Okay, that's one maybe. And then you have a thin outfield market in free agency beyond those two guys. Tucker and Bellinger, outstanding choices. But beyond them, Harrison Bader and a few others. And then maybe they have a trade in mind because they do have a number of young players. They've built up their system really well. Maybe a trade for an outfielder. I kind of sense that coming with them, but I don't know for sure. It's just that they've created a problem here by trading a longtime franchise stalwart, a guy who's extremely popular among fans and who is still productive, in decline somewhat, but still productive. And here they are looking for outfielders. It's going to be interesting.
It really is, because 5 years at 102 million or 105 or whatever was left on Brandon Nimmo's deal is going to be a lot less than what Cody Bellinger or certainly what Kyle Tucker are going to garner as far as the free agent market is concerned. Moving from the New York Mets in the NL East to the Brewers in the NL Central, Ken Rosenthal. Brandon Woodruff, we know that he's gone back to the Brew Crew. Good for him and Big Woo. Is Freddie Peralta, Brandon Woodruff an automatic 1-2 tandem for the Crew?
I don't know that I would say automatic because the Brewers are a team that are constantly looking to move payroll to create payroll flexibility. But at the same time, Will Salmon and I wrote an article, I believe it was last week after Woodruff accepted, in which we quoted both owner Mark Attanasio and president of baseball operations Matt Arnold saying they are excited about the rotation and saying that Woodruff doesn't necessarily lead to a trade of Peralta. They're on the record saying this. Now, things change. We all know that. You can't hold people to their words forever. But it just seems to me trading Freddie Peralta when you're only paying him $8 million, I know it's only in a relative sense, that would be a counterproductive move. You've got a potential rotation headed by Peralta, then with Woodruff and Mizorowski and some others. That's potentially a real strength. The question for the Brewers is, okay, then how do you create that flexibility we talked about? Do you trade a reliever like Trevor McGill? He's due about $4 million next year. That doesn't create that much flexibility. Or, and this is the obvious solution to me here, do you sign Brandon Woodruff to a multi-year deal at a lower average annual value than the qualifying offer number, which was just over $22 million? That to me seems to be the way to go. Maybe you do Woodruff at 3 years, $45 million. You take $7 million off the 2026 salary and you go from there. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It just seems to me to be the most obvious solution.
Do you also deal a reliever in terms of lowering Brandon Woodruff's AAV down, make it a multi-year deal? Do you get rid of a relief arm?
Yeah, maybe you do both. And that creates, I don't know, 10 million, 12 million in flexibility. Again, these are hypotheticals. I'm just throwing it out there because this is a team that generally has to maneuver like this and tries to maneuver like this to keep their payroll at a certain level. They've got some offensive needs. They've got some other needs. Bullpen actually is one. But I just don't know how they're going to do it. And this is a team that is endlessly creative. And I expect that we're going to see something funky from them. And I don't expect it to be a trade of Freddie Peralta unless the return is just so overwhelming. And you always have to have that caveat in any circumstance. If a team gets overwhelmed, they'll trade any player.
Yeah, sticking in the Central, let's talk about the St. Louis Cardinals. Katie Wu does a great job, of course, your colleague with The Athletic. She wrote about it yesterday. Nolan Arenado, Ken, is all but gone, but we've also been saying that for 3 years. What do you think happens with Arenado? And more importantly, Chaim Bloom now attaches money to retaining better prospects. What's going on in St. Louis?
That was a watershed trade for them yesterday. And I know the return is Richard Fitz and the prospect. That's okay. That's not what I'm talking about. The watershed moment was the inclusion of $20 million in that trade to pay down the salary of Sonny Gray, make him a $21 million player for the Red Sox next year. The Cardinals generally have not done that much in the past, but now that they've done it once, I expect that they would do it again for Arenado and maybe even Wilson Contreras. If Wilson Contreras changes his mind and says, you know what, we're tearing it down a bit here, I'd like to go. And he has a no trade, as does Arenado, as did Gray. And all of that is part of the equation here. But what the Cardinals are doing is trying to reset their team. And this is overdue with them. And they have some other pieces, Brendan Donovan, Lars Nootbaar, Nolan Gorman, that they can also trade. Now, I don't know that they're going to tear it all the way down and just become a non-competitive team for 3 or 4 years. I don't necessarily expect that. But the Sonny Gray move brought them back a major league pitcher in Fitz, a high potential prospect with Brendan Clark. They've got some things going in this trade alone that if I'm a Cardinals fan, I'm encouraged by, because it was time to rip the Band-Aid off. They've done that. They've got a long ways to go. And Arenado, who knows where he might end up. Maybe the Red Sox if they don't get Bregman back. Katie listed a few other teams. I don't know that any is a great possibility, but clearly they are motivated to do some things here.
And man, I tell you what, that is the big domino, I think, as a position player can to fall. I mean, obviously Kyle Tucker to a certain extent, but what happens with Bregman at third base, I think will constitute what happens in a lot of other places as well. Nolan Arenado willing to expand his no trade clause. Again, this is a guy that's been in trade talks or at least conversations for a number of years now. Where do you think realistically Nolan ends up? Does he go to the Tigers? Do you see him someplace else? Is Boston a fit?
I don't know. And it's a little bit problematic with him. Now, he's a Hall of Fame player. He's one of the greats of this generation, one of the great defenders we've seen in this sport, period. But he is in offensive decline, or has been. Now, maybe getting out of St. Louis and a change of scenery, it's not the easiest park to hit in, would do him well. But Alanna, I'm thinking about Katie's story. I don't see an obvious fit. And maybe it's Detroit, but they're not going to want to necessarily take on a lot of money. Maybe it's some other club, but this is going to be an interesting scenario to follow because, as I said, there's no clear-cut team with a need at third base that says, oh, I've got to have Nolan Arenado. It's going to be a tight squeeze for whoever does it.
Yeah, it is strange. It would be nice if you could have like just a designated defender and throw Nolan Arenado out there with the decline in terms of offense. But you're right. He's headed to Cooperstown. I truly believe that. All right. Much more to come on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal on this pre-Thanksgiving live episode. Get your questions in. Ken will be answering them next, right after a couple of words from our friends at Foul.
If you are still carrying a clunky leather brick that can be mistaken for an old school wallet, may I introduce you to what Eric Kratz is getting himself for the holidays?
I mean, this is the greatest wallet that I've ever seen in my life. Your credit cards fit in here. It's adjustable, lifetime guaranteed. Like this is a must-have for the holidays. Absolute must-have.
Ridge Olive Matte. That is the design that Kratz has right now, and you can get a hold of that. There's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from over at Ridge. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/foul to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/foul for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about Ridge. Tell them Foul Territory sent you.
Okay, welcome back to Fair Territory. Get those questions in for Ken Rosenthal. Not often do you get to ask Ken a question directly. The first one, Ken, is in regards to the Mets outfield. We were talking about it earlier, right? We know that Nimmo isn't there. They have some holes. So this question, given the fact that Tatis Jr. is still owed $286 million of $340, could you see the Mets taking on a bad contract, Darvish or Cronenworth, to fill an outfield hole? Thoughts on what San Diego would want? My friend, I guess, is a Padres fan.
Well, there's a lot here to think about. And one is, would the Padres even trade Tatis? And yes, they are in much more of a financial bind than they've been in past years. They don't have as much flexibility, and they have to address their pitching with Cease and King free agents, and Robert Suarez as well, a free agent. Would they trade Tatis? Yankee fans, I think, have been fantasizing about this too. It seems to me right now it's more fantasy than reality. Tatis is a beloved player in San Diego. He is still young. He is still highly productive. He's been a bit more inconsistent than you would want. I get it. But, man, I have a hard time seeing them doing that. Now, the idea of attaching another contract to Tatis's contract, that's an interesting idea too. And then the question becomes, if the Mets are taking on all that money, what are they giving back? And the return diminishes the more money you take on as a team. So if you're the Mets, you're taking all of Tatis and all of Cronenworth, you're telling the Padres, that's what we're doing. we're taking all this money off your hands. You're not getting our premium prospects in return. To me, it's all kind of fantastical. It's not necessarily going to happen, but it's going to be interesting to see what San Diego does this offseason to create some flexibility, because they are, again, not as well positioned as they've been in the past to spend money. When Peter Seidler passed, it became a different equation, and they're for sale as well. So all of these things enter it, but man, to trade Tatis, I just see that as too far a bridge to cross.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big ask if you're a Met fan for sure. All right, this is in regards to the Boston Red Sox. Are the Red Sox going to re-enter the top 5 payroll now, considering that they seem like they're ready to compete? We know that Sonny Gray is there. You don't necessarily think he's a number 2, but he is an upgrade in most estimations of Lucas Giolito. Do they re-enter the top echelon of spending money, Ken?
They're in position to. There's no question about that. And the Devers trade created all of this flexibility for them, and it enables them now to play in the deepest waters possible. Are they top 5 again next year? I don't know exactly, but it certainly seems like they're going to be aggressive. And one more thing about the Red Sox. People were critical of Craig Breslow as chief baseball officer early, and the deadline, the first one, wasn't so great. Okay. Last offseason was one of the best off seasons in recent memory by any team. It was Crochet, it was Narvaez, it was Chapman, and then it was topped off by Bregman, 4 for 4 with those guys. So Breslow, by doing that, in my mind, should have increased the faith of Red Sox fans in his ability. Now, the Devers trade is a whole different story. It's a whole different scenario entirely. But I'm interested to see what they do. I don't love the Gray move if he is the only starter they get. But again, it's incomplete.
We knew that the Red Sox, Ken, were not going to be able to extend Bregman in season, even in wild card postseason, because he's a Scott Boras client. Free agency is king when you're a Boras client. I respect that. Does Bregman go back to Boston, or is he playing third for somebody else?
I expect him to be back in Boston. And in free agency, when you say something like this, you're playing with fire, because free agency, things happen that you never expect. I say this all the time. It's actually true of all transactions. None of these trades that have happened so far were anticipated by anyone, and free agency can be wild. But with Bregman, it was such a good fit. He was so perfect for them. Now, he's going to be perfect in the estimation of other clubs on their rosters as well, and all it takes is one to obviously take him away. But man, he is really the right guy for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I tell you what, and I don't think anybody embraced the Boston culture as much as Alex Bregman did last season during the postseason, posting clips from the town trying to get into the postseason. But he knows what Boston fans want, Ken Rosenthal. All right, Shaq Fu for F4Z has this to say. What's Amai's best landing spot to compete against the Dodgers long term?
It's a good question, and we're going to get to Amai in a little bit, but the Yankees are certainly a team that's going to be in. The Giants have been linked to him. I guess they've been scouting him, or had been scouting him, as all teams have. What's fascinating about him is that he doesn't want to be a Dodger. And again, we're going to get to that in the next segment, and I've got some things to say about that.
Ooh, Ken Rosenthal teasing the next segment, perhaps, Dude and Dork. All right, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. We hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Ryan S7414 wants to know, football on TV or holiday movies? Ken, big family gathering or a small cozy one? Pumpkin pie or apple pie? That is a triple-headed question there.
All right, pumpkin pie, first of all. That's number one. Football, yeah, for sure, over holiday movies, and it's our favorite family holiday, Thanksgiving is, and we gather our whole family for it. So, yes, it's not a big gathering necessarily, but it's a priority for all of our children who are living all over the place to get back home.
Good. I love that. Happy Thanksgiving to you and Lisa and the Rosenthal family. For me, it's football for sure. Never a holiday movie. I can't stand Hallmark. Yeah, big family gathering is fine. And no pie. Okay. Just wine. Just wine. All right.
Wow,
That's going to do it for Grillin Ken here on this Wednesday. When we come back after a word from our friends at FOW, we're going to be talking about our Dude and Dork of the Week.
Hey, for all the parents out there with teens, it's more hectic now than ever.
Cash App's going to help, not hurt.
With the Cash App card, available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of their spending. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. BetMGM account holders, today, how about an any sport parlay boost token? You can score a bigger payout if your wager with that token hits. Tokens can be used on parlays and on same game parlays. Gambling problem or concern? There's help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
All right, I'm going to start this. Sonny Gray, good for you, buddy. $41 million for 2026. I believe it is one of the biggest contracts in terms of a one-year payout. Ken, you would certainly know more than I. For a pitcher, good for him. Doesn't matter where the money comes from. I'd take $41 million in a heartbeat. And now he gets to pitch for a possible contender, and that's good for him as well.
No question. Sonny Gray, a worthy choice for Dude of the Week. And I'm going to go with the guy we were just talking about before we went into break. My Dude of the Week, Tatsuya Imai. And here's why. Too often in this sport, we get sanitized answers. We get non-bulletin board material because everyone is so careful with what they say. This dude might already be my favorite player because what he said was he wants to beat the Dodgers. He wants to take them down. He doesn't want to be a Dodger. Now, I'm not ripping the Dodgers or questioning that or anything like that. They're great. We know that. Back-to-back World Series champions. But this is what you want to hear. And this is the kind of thing that shows you the kind of competitor that Umai is going to be. He said, of course, playing together with Otani, Yamamoto, and Sasaki sounds like it could be fun. But winning the World Series by defeating a team like that is something I feel would truly have value in my life. I cannot wait for this guy to get here. And David Vassay tweeted that he's the host of Dodgers Talk. He's already trying to stoke the fire. Perfect. Let's go.
But where does this hatred, where does this vitriol for the Los Angeles Dodgers come from? Where does it come from?
It's a competitor. It's a guy saying, you know what? It would be cool to take them down.
All right, so where does he go, Ken, to take them down? Where does he end up to take them down? Who's going to be the competitor that's going to take down the Dodgers?
I don't know exactly, Alanna. We're going to find out in free agency. But I remember Mark Messier, before the New York Rangers won the Stanley Cup in 1994, said, you've got to slay the dragon. Now, he was talking about the dragon of the Rangers past and all that. But that's what Imai is saying here. We want to slay the dragon. Good luck to you, buddy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's fun. I love it. I do think it is good for the sport, certainly, for people to want to take down the almighty dragon. I get that very much. Okay, time now for our Dork of the Week. All right, Ken, Hal Steinbrenner. I mean, mine's Hal Steinbrenner. I mean, I don't know how it could be how it could not be anybody's Dork of the Week. You're trying to tell me that we can't assume that the New York Yankees are profitable. I don't care, Ken Rosenthal, if the New York Yankees go 0-162 for the next 2 decades. The New York Yankees are one of the most profitable franchises in all of sport, Ken Rosenthal, not just our great game of baseball. This is silly. I want to, as you said it on Foul Territory, open the books. Let me see. Let me see the P&L of the New York Yankees. I guarantee you that the New York Yankees are profitable.
I would expect that the New York Yankees are doing okay. And if Hal Steinbrenner is frustrated with the way his finances are, he can sell them for what, $8 billion or something? He's doing okay too. So that's a worthy Dork of the Week. I've got something of my own, and it's related to the Yankees. And it's all the people, and I actually might have been included in this conversation, all the people who thought Sonny Gray couldn't pitch in New York. And again, I might have been one of them. So often, I tell fans this all the time, and I try to be deliberate in telling people this. So often, we don't know the whole story. And we can only judge by what we see, and that's fair, and by what we hear. But with Sonny Gray, there was more to the story. And I heard it yesterday, and then Eric Kratz alluded to it on FT. And what he said was that the Yankees tried to change Sonny Gray. I'm not going to get into all the details, the sweeper, slider, cutter stuff, but they tried to change him, and the Red Sox, from what I understand, have basically told Sonny Gray, you come here, you just be yourself. And that was what caused the problem for Sonny Gray, the difficulties he had with pitching coach Larry Rothschild, not New York. Sonny Gray is not afraid. And he showed he is not afraid, demonstrated it yesterday by waiving his no-trade clause to go to the Boston Red Sox, another high-pressure market. He could have vetoed them. He could have just waited until the Cardinals found a taker in a different market, but that's not what he did. So all of us who question Sonny Gray, hey, we're the dorks of the week, because you know what? There was more to it than met the eye.
Yeah, 2017 with the Yankees, Ken, 11 starts, 3.72 ERA, 1.0 WAR. 2018 with New York, 23 starts, a 4.90 ERA, and .1 WAR. So, all right, good luck in Boston. Sonny Gray, another historic franchise. He's pitched for a lot of them in his career. Thank you guys for the TV crowd, for you guys for watching. We appreciate you very much. If you are on YouTube, stick around for a couple more minutes. We'll be right back. All right. For those of you still with us, thanks so much on this pre-Thanksgiving show. I don't even know how to say that. Dr. Fu to you, Doc. I don't know. I don't want to get myself into trouble there. So here we go. Did team take a run at Bregman as a second baseman? Apparently, he was willing to move last offseason. So what do you think about the position change for him?
That's an interesting question, because he was willing to move. And in fact, when the Red Sox acquired him, initially there was some talk of him playing second base with Devers staying at third. I expect for the right deal that Alex Bregman would be willing to move, but I'm not sure I see an opening with the team at second base that would necessarily justify that. Now, granted, I'm just taking this question. I'm not looking at the entire landscape at this moment, but it seems to me his greater value would be at third. Could be wrong about that. And certainly with both him and Bo Bichette, teams can look at those guys at a variety of positions. With Bichette, the chances are he will move off of shortstop, become a second baseman or third baseman. And with Bregman, certainly can play second or third as well. But he's still a pretty good defensive third baseman. And if I were a team looking at him, that's where I would want him most. Now, if I'm a team with a deficiency at second, I'm certainly talking to Alex Bregman and saying, you know what? What do you think?
Yeah. Very interesting. All right. A baseball related something, Ken Rosenthal, that you are thankful for as we get ready to say goodbye here.
All right. Alanna, I've thought about this a little bit, and I've got a surprising answer. I am thankful for Rob Manfred introducing the pitch clock, because the pitch clock has transformed this sport. It has made it a more entertaining product. It has made it something that has become, again, kind of a hot sport. And you measure that in a lot of ways, and maybe some people would say I'm overstating it, but it definitely has changed things. It's definitely made the sport more watchable. And that's the whole point, right? It's an entertainment product. So kudos to Manfred and MLB for getting that done. There were some questions about it, questions about how it would affect the game, affect perhaps injuries, but it has been a resounding success.
Yeah, so much dead time is gone thanks to that pitch clock. I agree with you there. I'll see your pitch clock. I will raise you players really embracing the WBC, Ken. I love the WBC. I always have. And I feel like players are so much more inclined to want to play for their country, whether it's international players, of course, which are such a huge part of our game. It's such a global game, but even American players are really wanting to put on the USA jersey and play for their country. And I think that's really special. And when you see Shohei Ohtani be able to pitch to Mike Trout for the final out of the WBC, I think that's really something that is incredibly, incredibly special. I am thankful for you. I am thankful for our Foul Territory family. Ken, enjoy your Thanksgiving. To all of you guys, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Ken, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we've been thankful for AJ, right?
Yeah, sure. Even AJ. Sure, why not? Speaking of AJ, Eric Kratz, Kevin Pillar, Scott Braun are welcoming Bob Nightingale, Ryan Yarbrough, and Evan Grant on Foul Territory. Apparently, AJ's too good for us. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Dodgers Territory returns tomorrow, and Ken is back on Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern. Have a great week, everybody.